and welcome to this week's Fixing Football podcast. I am your host, Martyn, and I'm here tonight with Liam O'Meara for episode 88. We're on track, we're en route to episode 100. Liam, how are you doing, mate?
Very good, Martyn. I feel like we're episode 100, it's getting far too much coverage. I feel like you're really boosting it up a little bit now, and I'm very concerned it's not going to go anywhere near what our listeners and even you hope it will be. So I think we need to sort of play it down a little bit more.
No, and you never play anything down. What sort of rule in life is that? Episode 100 is going to be like a fun episode with many features, lots of video content, and just a good old time. Do you know 100 episodes puts us in the 0.01% of podcasts ever?
Really?
In terms of longevity.
Wow. I mean, that says a lot for people's stickability.
It shows how many podcasts are out there.
To be completely honest, because that's not... I mean, we're not at 2 years, are we? So...
No.
I mean, that's outrageous how quickly people give it up. But, you know, well done to us as well. You know, it's a good reflection on us, but also that's outrageous.
You need to stop playing stuff down. You're a fan of dealing in hysteria, apart from when it's positive stuff.
Well, I like to manage expectations, Martyn. That way you can pleasantly surprise people consistently, rather than under-deliver, which for someone like me is often the route that you will go down.
Sounds boring. There's lots. I feel like there's loads of football stuff going on all the time. I think it's been a mad week. Where would you like to start? What's been going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, you mentioned a mad week. I think it's worth mentioning we did promise a Barcelona episode, and that is written, it's ready to go. But because of quite a few incidences, Martyn, we felt like it was better to come back to that maybe. Barcelona chaos isn't going anywhere, so we can pick that up. But there has been quite a lot have happened, and I think the first thing I wanted to start, and we'll obviously going to talk about Arsenal referee decisions because they always get a mention on this podcast, so we're obviously going to go down that avenue. But I thought a good place to start was the United game, which will be on Monday evening. Or Sunday evening? Well, yeah, Sunday. I just assumed it was Monday evening because it was the kickoff time. It was actually a weird kickoff time. 7 p.m. on a Sunday.
Yeah, that was weird. It finished 2-0. The butcher, Martinez, on the score sheet. And who got the other one? Diallo, was it?
Yeah. It was offside. It was 1-0. It was offside.
Oh, really? I turned it off.
Did you turn it off?
Yeah.
It was offside. So, 1-0 it finished.
Fair. All right. So, 1-0, apart from him getting away with another crazy two-footed lunge for some crazy reason, he's I don't know. It's like he's got his own weird tackling coach and he's found a new way of doing it. Doesn't realise that he's going to get sent off and banned.
They were at each other all game, them two. All game.
Traore,
Adama, who's not the person I would pick to go after. I get that Martinez maybe likes to try and show that despite his stature, he's not scared of anyone. And that's great, but maybe Harry Wilson may have been my target if I was him.
Yeah.
Not Adama Traore, but, you know, fair play. But yeah, it was a horrific tackle again. And he's done quite a few of them. And he seems to consistently get away with them as well.
Yeah, because he misses all the time. He's like, what a weird...
He's at full speed, that. Like, Adama Traore's running at full speed. That was a very, very serious tackle.
It's a double leg breaker. I don't know how we can think it's a possible good way of winning the ball.
Oh, it's the second worst tackle I've seen all weekend. But the... we'll get into that, I'm sure. But I think, look, I thought they were quite lucky, actually, United. But they weren't terrible, and they probably deserve a little bit of luck because they do seem to be playing with a lot more defensive. I'm really impressed with Harry Maguire in that formation, by the way. Really, it looks really good. Really good.
It's perfect for him, that sweeper role where you don't have to, you're only man marking on set pieces. And he's not up against it because he's got his mates to do a lot of the legwork, and he's basically the old-fashioned sweeper.
Yeah, and he's got a midfield in front of him. There's not that Ten Hag donut in front of him, which has always been the case. He's got Agate and... Who was it?
Wasn't Manu, he didn't start, did he, Manu?
Not Manu. I think Collier came on, didn't he? But they've got actual screening midfielders in front of him for most games, and it makes a massive difference. So he looks like an important player for Man United again, which is mad considering where he was maybe 12, 18 months ago, where his mum was defending him on Twitter. So, fair play to him on that. And like Martinez, I know we joke, he's playing quite well, I think, as well. It's quite a decent defence they're starting to get together there, with De Ligt involved as well. So that's quite a turnaround, I think, because shocking and earlier on. So fair enough, they do look a bit better. So maybe they deserved the look. The goal was an absolute joke of a goal. But apologies, you can hear my dog. Everyone.
That's what I was going to do.
Yeah, like this does happen in other podcasts. So I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. Yes, the dog is barking at the door. So there you go, listeners. I do have a dog. I think the main talking point on mine, I'd be keen to know what you think here, because your manager comments, I think you're quite interested with. So Marcus Rashford.
Hold on, let me. So this was what I was going to say is the main talking point from this match. Wasn't actually the centre back almost getting sent off, scoring an absolute worlder, and United playing somewhat okay away from home. It was Amorim's comments after the match, namely about Rashford, when asked about his lack of firepower at the moment that he has. Is there any room left for Rashford in this team? And I mean, his comments were along the lines of he'd rather play his goalkeeping coach, 61-year-old goalkeeping coach, opposed to someone who clearly doesn't want to be there. They were along them lines. That's not verbatim, but it basically.
Yeah, I find it really. It felt a little bit more to it than just. It felt personal to me. Like
it felt more than what has been said previously.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's two schools of thought in there, and the truth is, no one really knows what's going on behind closed doors. But there's two schools of thought to this, isn't there? There's number one, that everything, like you say, that Amorim's saying is completely bang on. He's trying to get a reaction out of Rashford, and the ideal world is that Rashford can turn it round, puts in double effort at training, and plays himself back into the team. Or the other school of thought, which is the ultra cynical thought, is that this is all to try and get him out. They're trying to force him out.
Well, what would be? I mean, I don't think there's any stumbling blocks in trying to get him out at the moment. The club are happy for him to go. He wants to go.
There's a big stumbling block.
Well, the stumbling block may be his current wage bill and what he'll be demanding, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of noise around people actually going in for him.
Not because everyone knows what his wages are. There will be a lot of interest in Marcus Rashford, particularly in the Premier League. I think your West Hams of the world would be interested, very much so, in Marcus Rashford on loan to the end of the season and then reassess things in the summer. But I think they don't even start the conversation at those wages. And I think that's the issue with it in general. So what is it, 365 grand a week, basic?
I think United would have hoped as soon as them comments came out that an Arsenal or Chelsea would have gone, oh, we can get, despite his wages, we can get it, maybe 10, 15, 20 million even. We'll get him. Honestly, I think it'll be a really small figure of what, in terms of transfer fee, what gets him at the moment. And it'll just be, because regardless of that, it's all profit. If he was firing in all cylinders, they'd be holding it for 80 or 90, God knows what, if this was Rashford of, 2 years ago. But, obviously it's not the case. So, sometimes you've just got to realise, hey, I've had a good hand here for 4 or 5 years. And if I actually do want to continue playing football, I'm going to have to take a bit of a pay cut.
And that is what they're after. So when like the no obstruction, it's Rashford needs to individually take a pay cut to make the move happen. And that's where I fall a little bit more on the cynical side of the forcing him out. And I don't think that's purely what it is. I don't think that. I just think that if he wasn't on 365 grand a week, the language would be different. Garnacho seems to have found his way back into the team. Even though he won't celebrate when he scores, he seems to be still, getting game time. And Garnacho's wages will be nothing near comparable.
Not even close.
Like, I'd be surprised if he's on 60, 70 grand a week, Garnacho. Even by United tax, as Luke likes to call it. So
yeah, I'm not familiar if Garnacho had signed a new contract anytime recently. So I'm not sure on his, what his deal is currently at the moment.
But he has managed to play his way back into the team. So
yeah, that's the point.
How do we fix this situation for Marcus? We're Marcus's agent. He's just changed that, actually, so he might change it again to us.
It was his brother, wasn't it?
Don't know.
Or was regardless.
And I know my. I'm not updating my agent quiz for quite some.
Coming up on episode 100.
I know.
The fix is Rashford needs to get real, decide, and realise that, maybe underneath all the noise there is a talented football in there. We've seen evidence of it. Can that be rediscovered elsewhere? Look at other players who've taken the leap. I'm sure McTominay isn't on his Man United wages at Napoli, but he's going playing, and he wasn't on anywhere near what Rashford is. There's loads of examples of players who've just had to take a reality check, bite it, and maybe he smashes it at a Marseille, for example, or Sevilla, or somewhere on a rung below the top level of that league. I think he needs to get out of the Premier League, to be honest.
Yeah, Italy makes sense because of the tax situation. Obviously there's a less tax burden on higher earners in Italy, so it makes a lot more sense for that move to happen. And anyone who wants to see the new McTominay at Napoli, by the way, do watch a Napoli game because he is a different player there. He is running the show for Napoli and in a team going for a title. So he's great to watch. So I think Italy, if he wants to stay at the top table, if you will, of football, which he may want to,
there's a bigger selection of clubs in that upper tier, really. That
could maybe do it on a loan, and then they reassess it the summer. Because I don't see that transfer happening. I see a loan happening.
Yeah.
And maybe an American club, but I don't think he'll do it. But he might do because of the lifestyle, maybe.
But their season's not started yet.
I know. I know.
January 1.
That'd be a permanent, I think, as well if you did that.
Yeah. Right. Well, you know what? I've never been Rashford's biggest fan, but part of me does want to see him just get back to playing and looking like he's somewhat enjoying himself. I like to see good footballers doing good things. So
yeah,
if he can get back to that, good for him. But I don't ever see it happening at Man United again, especially as long as Amorim's there. He looks like his mind's made up. So
no, completely dumb.
Let's move forward. In fact, Liam, let's take a step towards your club for the moment, and then we'll return to the Premier League. Bolton, a good win away from home. Having last spoken last Monday, we was speculating whether Ian Evatt would still be in a job. That is now not the case for anyone who's not been following.
Did he actually go out before he'd got sacked? Because I was worried about that. Yeah,
just about. I just about got the chapters and editing done, and it was up on. It was up all across the world, and then Evatt kiboshed it. Also a lot of his backroom staff went. So Julian Derby, fan favourite, former player, all round good guy from personal experience.
I was going to say you'll know Julian, won't you?
Yeah, he's top guy. He came in when Parker came in. And he's really top guy, very personable. Will go and speak to anyone. He's we're not dealing with an absolute Hollywood A-lister here, but he's a former professional footballer. A lot of people look up to him, and he's super, super cool. So I was very happy for him, especially to see the scenes at full time. When he was on the pitch with his grandson.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah, it's good.
So aside from the good win, which you was up against Huddersfield and Dion Charles, of all teams for him to start his Huddersfield career at, he probably didn't want to come up against the team that know him the best.
No, that's it. And it's his second game. It's his first home game for Huddersfield. Huddersfield hadn't been beaten in 16 coming into this game.
Oh, really? Right, okay.
So it's a massive result. It can't be. And what was quite funny watching for I'll touch on the Dion Charles thing first. Bolton players were desperate for him not to score. They were all over him. All over him. Like, he had no space whatsoever. To the point where they were making rash decisions to take him out the game. If you know what I mean, they weren't necessarily keeping natural defensive shape just to close down Dion Charles, just to make sure that he was not going to score no matter what. And it was a really, really good performance. It was a very different performance in terms of how Bolton played on there. There was a lot of risk mitigation. So the structure was more or less the same in terms of formations and things like that. But you could see a marked change. So there was no short goal kicks. Nothing of that nature.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, especially with, and I don't want to be critical because he's done a good job, but especially with a manager with no experience, really, that he's just going to come in, be cool with all the lads, keep it simple. This is what we're good at. Get it away from our box for a start, because we don't need to be conceding anymore. So you do see a lot of that where just keeping it simple, the players have got a weight off their shoulders, the monkey off the back, if you will, whatever you want to call it. And just like I say, keeping it simple. It's usually sort of works for that, especially for, Julian Darby, who's going to come in and not going to be filling them with loads of tactics and a whole different
whatever. You can imagine the team talk. And this is no slight to Julian Darby, because I think it was an amazing weekend, and must be proud for all their family. But let's not kid ourselves in what that team talk will have sounded like. It will have sounded something along the lines of, win your battles, don't give anything away too cheaply, make sure you're alert on set pieces.
Don't let Charles go.
Don't let your edge drop if you go 1-0 down. Like, not. We're not talking about, like, we're not getting the Pep Guardiola sort of
manual out. No.
Exactly. Like, but it was that kind of game. It was a scrappy win, and we did restrict them. So we surrendered possession to them, which is not something that we do ever now in this version of the world. So we were happy to take a back seat in terms of possession, but we conceded very few chances that were of note, and created 2 or 3 genuinely good ones, one of which we scored from. So a good away performance that I've not seen us do for quite some time. Good. Well, at least things are looking on the up. Side note, I do like that green kit you've got, that away kit. Yeah, it's mint in it. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, it's class, that kit. Next, so burning question. Who is the name on everyone's lips who they want to come in as manager? Let's just give a top 3. Okay, yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, top 3, because I do think there's like tiers to this. Yeah. And there's tiers of like managers that I would want. I'm not bothered which one it is. Yeah. People I definitely don't want, and people that if they came in, I wouldn't be too annoyed, but they'd have to win me over a little bit. So I'll start with the ones I definitely don't want. Number 1, and he's ruled himself out, Big Sam. Oh. I definitely don't want Big Sam. Well, don't get me wrong, I love Big Sam, like all Bolton fans do, but we just become a circus. Like, you can imagine all like Bet365 account will be just straight away like Nolan in the dugout. Is a Kocher free stuff to get the bands getting back together. And I just couldn't be arsed with all that. Like being like a sideshow for everyone else. There's enough sideshows in our league. We don't need another one. So just on that though, is the no is the no play for a till the end of the season job? Big Sam. Yeah. No. I'd rather get Julian Darby to the end of the season, personally. Okay, right. Moving to next tier. Yeah. So the next one I definitely don't want. I don't want Ryan Lowe either. Okay. Former Preston manager. He just looks like a moody bastard. We just had one of them. Yeah, you don't need more of that. Yeah, it just needs like he negs the place out when things aren't going his way. And probably quite a talented young manager, but we just don't need another one who's scowling all the time and just. We need someone who's got a bit of breath of fresh air type energy, like... Yeah. Even if it is a bit cheesy, just someone who's just going to try and lift the place a little bit. So, no, don't want Ryan Lowe. Ones that I'd be okay about, Steve Evans, number 1. Don't know what you know about Steve Evans, Martin. Steve Evans is the current manager of... Rotherham. I thought you were like testing yourself there. No, he's current Rotherham manager. Okay. You would know him. He's a big lad. Big lad, yeah. Oh, I do know what you mean, yes. But he's a very good manager, though. But he's probably one of those, though. We talk a lot about personal branding at work and stuff like that now, where he doesn't really help himself in that regard because of things like that. And look, in a world, these things shouldn't matter, but they definitely do. So, but his record in League One is very good. He is struggling a little bit at Rotherham this season, though. He hasn't really got them firing, and things haven't clicked as much as they thought to, considering he has been a massive success there before. Okay. And he's kind of come out half saying he would want the job at Bolton as well. Like, yeah, but also that he's sort of still happy as well. So he didn't burn any bridges with the comments, did he? But for me, you don't say how much you love the club about Bolton if you're not throwing your hat in the ring. You just don't say that when you're at a club already. Like, if I was a Rotherham fan, I'd be like, I know exactly what you're doing there, dickhead.
Yeah, that's just like, I'll just leave the door open in case anyone.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, I put him in the pile that I wouldn't hate it, but he'd have to win me over. Then we'll look at the ones that I want. Let's get into those ones. They're the ones more interested.
Well, top two. Who do you want?
Top two. Well, top two are the two that probably are most likely, I would say. Well, there's three. These are three probably most likely, I would say. And Liam Richardson, former Wigan manager, former Bolton player, got out of League One already. So he's very much in the hunt, I would say. So that's option one. Option two, Des Buckingham, former Oxford manager, beat us in the playoff final last year.
Where's he now?
Oxford sacked him.
Oh, okay.
And what's he called? Took over. I'm not getting stuck into that. I can't remember what his name is now. But he's such a championship manager, stalwart. Okay. I can't remember. Anyway, so yeah, Buckingham, who probably would be my number one choice personally. Yeah, I like the way he plays. I like the 4-3-3. So I think that's a formation that really complement Bolton's current team. A 4-3-3, particularly Aaron Collins. I think you build the team around him.
Yeah.
So I would do that. Let him play in that coming in off the wing type free roll possession thing, which is what you do with your best. Pretty much every team's best plays I know, don't they? So yeah, that's what I would do. But the other option is Steven Schumacher as well, who again.
That's the name that I keep seeing the most from Bolton.
Yeah. I'd say it's the most likely. Where is
he right now?
He is available. So he was at Plymouth and he left to go Stoke.
That was it, right? Yeah.
And he really didn't hit it off at Stoke. The performances weren't terrible, but I believe that he not fell out, but didn't necessarily see eye to eye with the Colts family and Jonathan Walters, who's the sporting director there now. So and
cool guy.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe that didn't work out for him, and he's been available since. So if you ask me what do I think will happen, I think Steven Schumacher will probably be Bolton manager by the time this goes out.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, it seems to me that's where the momentum is. But it'd be one of them three. I'd be pretty much guaranteeing it's going to be one of them three. I would say.
Have you got a midweek game coming up?
Yeah, we play tonight as this goes out. So
right.
Northampton turn at home. That will be Julian Darby in the Bolton dugout, but also Kevin Nolan in the Northampton dugout. So that's quite an interesting little dynamic. Nolan just probably stood there thinking, what if I'd waited a few more weeks?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Right. Okay. Well, we will see how this one pans out. People will probably know by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah, they probably will.
So, right. And that wraps up League One for now. I want to get back to the Premier League. First comment. Manchester City, are they back?
They look a lot better. De Bruyne looks like he's found a bit of form. And Foden looks like he's found a bit of form.
Yeah, by actually playing.
Yeah. I don't like the back. Because I think Chelsea let them off the hook a little bit, because it could have easily been 2-0 up, and I think that's a very different game then.
Yeah.
So I don't like the back, but they definitely look a bit better. But I did think the last 10-15 minutes, I was sat there watching the game thinking, Chelsea could win this. Like, the City started to look a bit jittery until that second goal went in. Or third goal, sorry.
I almost felt like Chelsea just weren't going for it. Like, I think you're right, Chelsea letting them off. There was a sort of tentativeness to what Chelsea were trying to do.
What do you think of the young lad's debut?
For City, the cushion.
Yeah, cushion off, yeah.
Oh, it's an hard game to come into against two of the... Nicholas Jackson is difficult to play against. He doesn't know himself what he's going to do most of the time, so it's probably hard for a lot of defenders to read him. You got Cole Palmer breaking through, and if you look over the last 6-7 years, you're coming into one of the best defensive lines in world football. So, yeah,
do you think it's a bit weird that he started him straight away after the move? That doesn't seem very pep. That's not very pep, is it? Like,
but part of me thinks he is already written off this season, so let's just bed him in as soon as. I don't think if this was the transfer window that he'd had last season, and a player like Mamouche had come in and or Mamouche and Kujanov had come in, that they'd have gone straight into the starting team. I don't think that would have been the case. So I guess it's just fuck it, let's see what happens. Yeah,
it seemed a strange one for me. I can kind of understand it more of a forward player a little bit.
Yeah.
As a central defender coming into a game like you say, against a pretty good attack in Chelsea, like a pretty strong Premier attack, probably the third or fourth best attack in the league, I'd say. So yeah, strange decision, but Eddie back, they look better. I'll say that.
Right. Last question on Premier League stuff.
Okay.
Southampton. Are they going to be known as the worst Premier League team ever?
Oh, maybe.
You know what? I did see this question being bandied around, and I didn't realise it was so bad that they're still on 6 points.
Yeah.
It's worrying.
What I will say is they may finish on the points to be the worst, but I'm not sure that would be a fair reflection of. I think they play better than that, and I'm not saying they've been unlucky because on 6 points. They're obviously not unlucky, but they're not like that Derby team were, in the sense that Derby team was just.
That Derby team were handing out record goals tallies to everyone.
Oh, it was horrific. I remember that season. They were so bad.
Yeah.
They were so bad. But we played them at home, Bolton, and we were good then. But the crowd was turning on Bolton because it was 0-0 after 25 minutes. But you could just see how bad they were. It was horrific. It was a horrific team.
Yeah.
So they may finish on less points, but they're not worse than that Derby team in my eyes.
Fair enough. What else is happening down at the bottom of the league? So
Leicester won.
Leicester beat Tottenham. It's worth mentioning Tottenham for a minute because it's fun to compare Tottenham and Arsenal, but they've lost more games this season than we have in the last 3. It's just worrying and I know you had high hopes for Ange, and a lot of people were very positive after the transfer window in the summer. I wasn't convinced. Some were, some weren't. It is what it is. But they are. And every time I see Tottenham and they line up and I look at the team on paper, I'm like, they've got a good team. They've got good players. And they are just so poor. And you can't keep blaming injuries. And you've got to start. I feel like Ange's one loss away from it being over.
There's a lot of truth in the injury stuff, but let's not take away from losing at home to Leicester is a honking result. He did not need that, and that is a tough one to defend. So yeah, that was a bad one. In terms of being 1 or 2 defeats away, I'm not sure. I think the cup semi-final. We were talking about this last night in a group, weren't we? And,
yeah.
And the comment about the semi-final, I think that helps him. The fact that he's in a semi-final and the fact that really he could win a trophy for Tottenham this season. That's still there is a lot to play for, but they do look poor in the league. And yes, they've had injuries, and particularly with the defence, which when you don't really defend, you need your defenders to be quite good. So when you're playing like teenagers you signed as midfielders from the Championship as starting centre-back, it's not going to help you. However, losing at home to Leicester when you're already losing loads of games, that's going to change people's views. So I imagine a lot of those Spurs fans that are maybe on the fence, unless he gets through to that final, he could lose them, I think. I think that second leg against Liverpool is massive for him now.
They've got to defend that 1-0 with their whole life. Because Liverpool are going to be going at it. They'll want to win that trophy. Make no mistakes about it. They'll be putting out a weak team in that.
It's quite an interesting group of semi-finalists. That we know we didn't really talk about it much at the time, and
yeah.
But it's a very interesting group of semi-finalists. All 4 of them would really want it. So
very much so, yeah.
We will see how that plays out. But I think that's where, if he loses that game, I think they may make a decision. But I don't know. It's a strange situation at Tottenham. They may wait to the end of the year. They may do that, but I don't see him there next season at the moment. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Right. Let's have 5 minutes and then we'll get on to some burning topics. Before we get on to this week's big topic, I forgot to tell you, on Friday evening, met David Seaman.
Okay, well, you did tell me, but I think you're doing that thing where you're telling the listeners, aren't you? So, did you? Where did you see David Seaman, Martyn?
Saw him at a restaurant in Alderley Edge in Cheshire. And what was mad? So I spoke to him, and he was as lovely as you would imagine David Seaman to be, especially northern Arsenal fans. It was a good, and he was, you know.
Oh, he always comes across well. Yeah, he always seems a genuine nice person, I always think, David Seaman.
Maddest bit, right, is he sat down having his meal after we'd spoken, and then Shea Given walked in, of all people, and then it was just like, you know, that Spider-Man meme of like early noughties Premier League goalkeepers. Just like
did they acknowledge each other
immediately? Like they weren't together, they weren't meeting up and eating together. David Seaman was with his family and friends or whoever, and Shea Given was with another family or friend or whatever.
And like, Shaka Hislop was there.
I was thinking if Brad Frieda walked in a minute, this is game over. It's just like
Tim Flowers was there, just at the bar. Yeah.
You know, immediately Goalkeepers Union was on show. Anyway, that was fun. Yeah, lovely guy. Listen, let's get stuck into Arsenal because that's been a bit of a burning topic, and I don't. Let's not go off on the morn here about referees and the decisions itself.
No.
I more want to get stuck into the reaction and fallout from it.
Okay. Well, we can touch on the decision first. I think that's important to talk about the actual decision. I'm sure people have seen it. We don't need to explain what happened, but we can talk about whether we agree on what we think of the decision. I think that's important to establish that.
Yeah. So, first of all, let's say that it was a good win. Really good win. We needed that. 1-0 away from home after going down to 10 men. Let alone it did end up getting made 10v10, but that's another
silly. What a silly tackle that was, but
really, really silly. Can I just read you a few quotes within relation to the Miles Lewis-Skelly red card?
Okay, go on.
And by the way, side note, I did mention at the beginning of the season when we spoke about Thomas Tuchel and future England, what that might look like, that I did bring up Miles Lewis-Skelly, and the way he's coming to the Arsenal team, you would not surprise me now if he's in that squad at least and really pushing for a starting slot at left back. Very impressive player.
Okay, go on.
Listen, terrible decision.
Try not lose. Yeah, I was going to try not lose me before we even talk about it. You know what I mean? Go on.
Terrible decision. Never ever a red card. Alan Shearer. I was going to play Guess Who Said This quote, but I'm just going to read him out to you. Obviously not a red card. Gary Lineker. One of the worst decisions I've ever seen. Jamie O'Hara. Ridiculous decision. Henry Winter. Most baffling red card I've ever seen, and supposedly from our best referee. Nonsensical. Mark Chapman. Totally wrong call from the referee. Mark Halsey, former Premier League referee. Can't possibly be a red card. Tim Sherwood. Shocking, horrendous, awful decision. Rio Ferdinand. Worst decision in Premier League history. Micah Richards. And the kicker, and my favourite, I think they'll win an appeal. Mike Dean. I did that on purpose that there was no Arsenal bias in the speakers of them comments.
Yeah, worst decision ever. I'd like to. I wish I'd sat and thought about that because I bet there's been some whoppers if you really sort of.
I know the worst decision ever.
Probably Linvoy Primus's red card. That was a bad one. Do you remember that?
Worse than any case of mistaken identity. I don't remember the Linvoy Primus one. Which one was that?
Portsmouth red card. We'll
insert clip here, but
yeah.
I don't remember.
No, I think it's better to do it as a clip. I think we'll attach the clip on our X. Right. The viewer can come to their own conclusions on why that should have been a red card to Linvoy Primus.
Funnily enough, mine was featured a Portsmouth player as well, and that was the Ben Thatcher against Pedro Mendes. Do you remember the elbow?
Yes.
He got a yellow card. Knocked him out cold. He did end up. He did end up with service after that.
I was going to say with that one, and I'm going back on memory. I've not watched that again back in a decade, maybe.
I've seen it.
Oh God, it's the worst. But the problem with that is it's quite hidden in the sense that depending on the angle of it, because the TV camera catches everything. But if you're behind Ben Thatcher, you maybe don't see what Ben Thatcher actually did.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm making an excuse. that's probably the worst tackle I've ever seen. That one.
Yeah, horrendous. So obviously they're speaking about this. Now, for those who haven't seen it, Arsenal have a set piece or a corner, I can't remember which one exactly, but Wolves break from this corner, and on the edge of the Wolves box, maybe about 5 yards from the Wolves box, Lewis-Skelly trips the Wolves player. Is it Doherty, I think it was? And he goes to trip him, should we say?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the word trip is fair. I think he throws him. Kicks him. Yeah, I think, because I'm trying. Yeah, kicks is fair. And
everyone who's ever watched a game of football in their life knows that's a straight yellow card. It's cynical. Everyone hates it, but it's a yellow. You take your medicine, you move on. You're stopping the break of play. You're 80 yards from the Arsenal goal, so that is what it is. But it gets a straight red. That's the long and short of it. Liam, was that a straight red card the correct decision?
No, it should have been a yellow. I'm not saying I couldn't understand why it's a red. I can understand why Michael Oliver's given it in the heat of the moment. I do, because it's at a very quick speed, and he is a little higher than you should be on those kind of tackles, considering the ball is a good 15 yards away, and all that can happen there is a bad injury. Now, he doesn't mean it, Lewis-Skelly, doesn't, but he is a little bit higher than he should be, considering he's not attempting to play the ball whatsoever. And I do think there is a room for that in potential real change of, there could be a red in that in the future, but that's not the rules now. It's not. It's a yellow card. Like, there's no. Even if I'm trying to wind people up, I just sound like a dick. It is a yellow card. I think VAR got in their own heads about it. So I think what's happened is Michael Oliver's give the red card, and I think that was a mistake. But I couldn't understand at that speed how he's done it. When Mark Chapman was saying the worst decision, that's our best. I think that's harsh on Michael Oliver, because it was very quick. Yeah. So, and it is I said, it is a little high. It is high than you'd want to be with that foul. So, I think Michael Oliver there, and I think VAR gets too lost in the detail of the tackle. Like, they almost slow it down, look at it, and they're like, actually, that is above the ankle. And then they're looking for reasons to not overturn it, in the sense that, is it clear and obvious mistake? And I feel like they've just not watched it back at full speed and gone, well, that's a yellow card, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, they've almost got too like, they've overanalyzed it and found a reason to say it's not a clear and obvious error, which you could do, because you could make that stupid little case that I've made a minute ago. Yeah. But Christ, if you watch it back, it's a yellow card.
VAR was very quick as well. It was surprisingly quick, given the amount of.
You keep going back to this every.
No, like, I do want VAR to be quick, but more importantly than quick, I want it to be right. And I hate VAR. I'm sick of going back and forth over it. I hate it. It doesn't bring any enjoyment to the game. So that's my say.
Okay, so we agree. Hang on, let me move this forward, right? Because we agree. We agree. It's not a red card, right? So we agree on that. What should happen? So a lot of this now.
From now.
Yeah. So in terms of two parts. Firstly, who should if there is a sanction on the referee, who should face the sanction? Does that be Michael Oliver, as Keith Hackett has suggested for some reason? Like, very helpful to his, former referee there. Or should it go to, is it Darren England, the VAR? Yeah. So you think Darren England should be the one that, if there was, firstly, whose fault is it? Where does the buck stop here? Let's establish that.
I would say, I agree with you that I can see why Michael Oliver has gone red. He thinks it's worse than what it is. Yeah,
it's wrong, by the way, but people make mistakes in a split second. So
and this is I can live with that. I can live with heat of the moment, the wrong decision, especially when it's something like this. It's not like he did nothing; he weren't even there. He has kicked him, and on the right freeze frame, it looks worse than what it was. You would want, if you're making that foul, you would want it to be cleaner than what he did. Yes, for sure. And what does happen? Who does get the punishment? Good question. I don't know. That's a good question, mate. I don't know.
Because that's where you start with this. When you start thinking about what should happen and VAR, and the fixes and all, is Michael Oliver first, before we get to the stick element, which we'll get to in a minute, is Michael Oliver copping unfair stick here? Because he has VAR to help him, and they've not helped him.
A little bit, yeah. Now, I don't think there can be a precedent set for this. And I think, in this case, VAR are at fault. Whereas, in another case, the referee's at fault. The referee has the final say on the day. He can decide whether he wants to go and look at the sheet and take another look. It's his say at the end of the day. But, in my opinion, he hasn't even been advised to go and look at the screen, as far as I know. And the VAR backed him up, and they should be punished. What the punishment looks like in this case, I don't know. What does that mean? You take them off 3 games. Did they learn anything from that?
I think that takes to the next part. So let's say we agree it's Darren England's fault, VAR, right? What happens then? In most cases, you'd get stood down for a bit. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But I have 2 issues here. Number 1, does that get dealt with in public? Does that undermine him? Does that make him look will he struggle then to get enough, to essentially be able to referee in other games? Or do you do it in private but then there's this outcry that I know something I've heard a lot is that there's no accountability for things. These things happen every week. No one ever gets punished, and how do you then punish them? Is what
I think publicly is correct, but then that needs to become the norm, where a player gets a red card and they're suspended for 3 games or whatever. However you look at it, obviously that's in public because everyone's watching it at the time. But this is a very public mistake as well. And instead of Howard Webb coming out and immediately getting on the backs of those criticising the referee or the VAR team for this, what am I trying to say here? Then I'm saying that there should be some fronting up from the referees group, the head of the referees, whether it be Howard Webb, whether it be from an outpost we got this wrong, this referee is serving a 2-game ban or whatever. However that looks, but I think it should be public, but it also should be more of the norm, so people can accept it and it isn't held against these people like we've seen. Okay, so it's just more commonplace. Yeah, if it's more commonplace, it's not a bigger deal. Yes. If you make a mistake, you stood down for a couple of weeks. It's not a big deal because it happens almost every other week. And that's the end of it. The back on Premier League stuff, they're not, because you've seen it in the past where they get pulled from the Premier League. They're in the Championship, which is less wages, and we're not dealing with Premier League footballer wages here. We're dealing with Premier League referee wages. They are paid very well, but Championship less so. League 1, League 2, all the way down a lot less so. The drop-offs are drastic, to say the least, in terms of what the referees are paid and the officials. So this isn't it shouldn't be a career ruining moment for these people. I just think it needs to be public and just a more accepted version that players get punished, players get retrospectively punished for certain things, where referees should as well. Okay, I don't think that's a terrible idea, but do you think in reality it would work? Do you think that... No, I think the bedding in period would be too severe. This needs to be something that's fronted out as a new scheme. Maybe new season, maybe. Yeah, you see Howard Webb, beginning of the season. This is our new agenda. This is our new... and we've even we've brought 4 more referees into the PGMOL. Whatever. However you want to do it. Get in front of it. Be active with it. This is maybe could have come at the end because it's turned into a fix, but... No, because I think this is the fix of this. I think there's a second part to this which we'll address, but in terms of the actual thing, I think this is a fair time to talk about this. Whereas I don't hold this decision against Michael Oliver. You don't have to scroll very far on Twitter to find a lot of other decisions that have been suspect against us. I am not playing Johnny Conspiracy here because I don't think... No, because you're going to lose me, because I feel like we've been able to... We've been all right. I was against this conversation happening at all.
maybe 5 hours ago.
Listen, I am not in a conspiracy place with referees.
Good, because no one should be there.
If you mention the words Anthony Taylor anywhere near Scott, he will fly off the handle. In fact, even mentioning the fact that we're doing a Barcelona episode is probably why Scott's ran a mile. He's still not a fan of them 15 years on. Michael Oliver isn't a lot of Arsenal fans' biggest friend. I'm not in that camp. You can say what you want about the stuff with David Coote and Liverpool. I still don't. I'm not in that. I'm not in that camp.
No, I'm not going down that route again.
Well, listen. What I am concerned about is the standard, and no, I am going to focus it on an Arsenal voice, if you will. But Ian Wright came out and was obviously critical of the decision. Yeah, no surprise there. But something else he did say rang true is that we push this league as the best in the world. This is the best product in sport. Aside, the only thing that can be made an argument for is a Super Bowl, and that's one game. This is a year-round, unbelievable spectacle that everyone wants to see, be a part of, everything, be involved with. So, but our standard of refereeing, to me, in my opinion, is way below par, and it's way below what we need to be seeing. It's become a show within itself. I'm waiting for the Netflix documentary to just be about referees and the Real Housewives of Referees show to come out on the side. Like that, they've become a spectacle in themselves. And Howard Webb being on Sky Sports and Dermot Gallagher being on, Mike Dean, whoever else, all being on all these TV shows, they're not helping anything themselves.
But that's what people wanted, though. They all talked about transparency and understanding, and then it gets flipped around. And I'll be honest. In terms of the referees being poor, I think they could be better. I do genuinely think that. In terms of this idea and this, like, I see a lot of the accusations at the moment is almost like main character energy kind of thing, isn't it? Like they want, and I think that's a load of shite. So I do. I think that's a symptom of social media doing it. To be honest, I think when we talk about Scott with Anthony Taylor, I would not know of any Chelsea Anthony Taylor if it wasn't for Scott constantly talking about Anthony Taylor. Constantly bringing up Anthony Taylor all the time. And then saying Anthony Taylor's making it about him. But I would argue Scott's making it about Anthony Taylor.
Never heard Jesse Sunday mention Anthony Taylor either.
But yeah, and I feel like it's a manifest of that a little bit, I think. I'm not sure I don't necessarily subscribe to the main character energy. Of course, our more senior referees are going to have a little bit of celebrity element to them because they are high profile.
Yeah.
Particularly your Michael Olivers and Anthony Taylors, because they are world level. You know, we're talking World Cup finals and Champions League finals type thing. So of course they've got notoriety. There's no way that doesn't happen when you're that level. So I get what you're trying to say, but I think that's a symptom of social media, and I think it's a symptom of manifestation of people making it about that. Like, I don't think Michael Oliver wanted. I think if someone said to him, you should go and have a look at that, he'd have a look at it and not send him off. I don't think it was about Michael Oliver making it about him.
And I don't just want to focus on social media, because you can speak to, you know, an old dear in the pub who likes to go to the match, and she will say this referee hates us, or someone else will say, and they're not in the Twitter sphere.
But no, that's different. No, that's different. I would say the big six clubs. And I think this is where it is, and I'm not just finger pointing. I think this is where it is. Have an obsession with referees, and the personality of referees, to the point where there's almost a case of, at the elite level, referees in different countries, refereeing in other the top level, referees in different countries in UEFA doing other countries' games. I think we're almost at that point now where there's just no trust. Like, every time Oliver gives a decision, I see a picture of him in a Newcastle shirt because that's where he's from. Like, honestly, it's exhausting. But I think that's where we are. But it's just, it doesn't matter. They could do whatever, transparency or quietness. They could hide, but this would still happen.
That was going to be almost one of my fixes as well. And I don't know if this is the same side of the same, two sides of the same coin here. But in the Champions League and I've seen Liverpool fans say the same thing, and Man City fans, that the standard of officiating appears to be a lot better. Now, whether that's me watching it, knowing that there is no unconscious bias going on from referees, or
you. And this is where I am with it a little bit. Is it your unconscious bias of thinking, oh my God, it's Michael Oliver all game? Rather than someone you don't know. The players don't know, so the players aren't interacting with them in the same way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this is where I'm leaning towards this idea of, at the elite level anyway, but then you have to do it for the whole Premier League. And it's whether referees would want to do that, work away every week, and that comes with its own problems. But I feel like we're almost getting to that stage where the European game needs to switch it. Because I know I keep talking about Serie A, it's because I'm watching a lot of it at the moment, because they've got good slots in the evenings.
Yeah.
You watch the last 10 minutes of any Serie A game, it descends into farce every single time. I was watching Lazio versus Fiorentina Sunday night. It was chaos. The last 10 minutes was chaos. 2 red cards for managers, fighting, and it's same. That Sunday night game, every single night, the last 10 minutes just chaos, and it's impossible for it to referee. But I can imagine it's exactly the same there, where it's like I just think that's where we are. So I think could they be better? Yeah, I 100% think they could do. Would it matter? Would we still have this? I think we would.
Yeah, maybe we're right. Maybe we're onto something, and I think
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if it's not something that's been discussed already.
Yeah. So the other part of this has been the reaction since all the decision. I know we sort of touched on it a little bit then, but first, what have you made of it all? I mean, that we're recording this on Monday. This is where we're dealing with all the fallout from, everyone's back on the radio and back on headlines and writing articles about this decision more than anything.
I don't want to spend too long on this, because I think it's obvious that it's wrong. Obviously, but one thing I will say, you're always going to get an element of this. You're always going to get an element of, we were hearing about this 20 years ago when Chelsea got knocked out of the Champions League. Oh, that was that's a good example of.
Yeah.
It's not always the Champions League refereeing. Was that I can't remember what you called that guy. But anyway, so you're always going to get an element of this. But what thing I don't think has helped this time with this is some of those quotes that you've read out there. I would put them in the more moderate version of some of the media that's been around this decision.
Yeah.
Some of it has been, I've seen the words corrupt being used so fragrantly, like it's got nothing behind it. And if I had a legal team looking, I'd be Googling for that word, and do you know what I mean? That's such a smear. But I've seen that word thrown around so much. And I feel like people need to be particularly if they've got large audiences, need to be careful.
I refuse to live in a world where I believe that there is corruption at this level.
Well, it's because there's not. It's not that. I know football seems to matter to a lot of people, but it actually doesn't matter, really. If you think that all the world's powers are conspiring to make sure Arsenal don't win the Premier League, they've got other things that they could be doing. So it just doesn't matter. I know we love it and we talk about it, and it makes and breaks our weekends, and it's what we all use to come together. But really, football doesn't matter. So there isn't some massive conspiracy to make sure Liverpool win the league. That's not happening. And if you think that is happening, you need to go and seek help, because there's something wrong with you.
I do agree, but my frustration is always at the standard and not the.
The standard could be better.
Personal behind it, you know what I mean?
The standard could be better, but people need to be very careful about what they put out there, because it does.
But even some of them quotes were like worst decision in Premier League history. That's I don't want to say slanderous.
Well, I think
it's big in it.
Was that one from Matt Chapman? This is supposed to be the best referee now. That is not great, because he knows better. He knows the VAR really is responsible. He's give that in the instance. Anyone could do that, right? Anyone could have done that, and he'll be. I don't know, but there'll be certain people on the radio today saying how bad all this reaction is from, and they'll say it's the Arsenal fans reacting, but they're whipping up a little bit of a storm and then turning around and going, "Look at this, everyone." So I think some people in the media need to be very careful.
I have felt a little bit about that, and that's on purposely why I selected them quotes, because I could have gone Martyn Keown, Ian Wright.
Martyn Keown was outrageous today on the Monday on Talks, but I had to turn it off. He was outrageous. Some of the stuff he was saying.
Arsenal voice here. I could have picked 20 of them.
Oh, but Martyn Keown particularly was. I think he was very much on the boundary, and almost playing down. Yeah, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say, but I didn't like what Martyn Keown had to say about it.
But yeah, and then so all these voices are the ones, like you're saying, whipping it up, and then all of a sudden it's Arsenal. It's the Arsenal Twitter. Yeah, it's the big Arsenal voices, the ones who have gone too far. When really these are the main voices that you see on Sky Sports, on TalkSport, on YouTube, wherever you want to look. These are the main voices, the biggest names in sports journalism, being the ones getting it whipped up, and then
100%. They 100%.
Saw the statement from PG Amwell talking about death threats.
Do better, everyone. Is it do better?
The death threats one's weird because Michael Oliver isn't on social media. So I don't know if someone's sending him letters.
Was it family as well though? Not hard to find someone's family, is it? I mean, not that I would, but yeah, that's not me sort of letting slip that I'm like some kind of thing. But yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it's especially internet weirdos. They can find anything now.
It's because the most negative voices usually become the loudest and the ones that get shared and
100%.
God knows what else.
100%. There's no winners.
There isn't, and there certainly doesn't. This could have easily been another 0-0 or a 1-1 where we've dropped points again. We're totally out of the title race. This could have easily been one of them weekends. Luckily for us, and it is really luckily that we ended up winning.
Yeah, but I also think that's made it worse because I also think then it's almost like a license to go on it big time then because it didn't cost us this time. But this is what's happening. This is what we're up against, and I feel like there's been a bit of. But look, I'm not actually blaming Arsenal. The generic Arsenal fan. There's obviously a toxic militant part to it, but there is in most clubs. I think yours can be a little bit worse at times. I'm being honest.
We do the toxic the best.
Yeah, I do think that, but I don't like the way the media's been around it because I feel like they've made it worse. But I think we've said enough on that now. I
agree. Let's wrap it up there. So we've sort of skated around 2 fixes there, but I think we've come up with something in that we see potentially foreign referees and UEFA-led refereeing around the big
5 to 10 years. I can't see that not being the case in the next 5 to 10 years.
And potentially a new scheme. So hopefully Howard Webb's listening, and at the beginning of the 25-26 season, he can get on board and get in front of this when he does his little. He'll do an interview with Gary.
Yeah, well, I met Howard Webb quite some time ago, and he was a lovely man. So he should listen, and he won't remember me. But he's very tall. He's absolutely massive.
He was a good referee if you supported Man United. So let's leave that there. Right, mate. Coming up on 100 episodes. I'm still getting some questions in and stuff, so we're going to have a good little Q&A session. Please do, people, get them in. If you want to be involved, if you want to be part of our 100th centenary episode. It's a good milestone. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah.
If you would like to just be involved in any episode or get your topic talked about, your business, your whatever, your thoughts on your club's defending, transfer activity, whatever it is, give us a shout. We want to be involved. So you can find all that information on our website, which is fixingfootballpodcast.com, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks for that, Liam.
Farewell, Martyn.